Hey everybody, Alex Kazor, SteelersDepot.com, back to do another recap and analysis of the Steelers' preseason finale, a 25-19 loss to the Carolina Panthers. Pittsburgh drops to 3-1 on the season, and next game they'll play is Sunday night, September 8th, against the New England Patriots, week 1 of the regular season. Can't believe it's already here. So I'll try to keep this video short. Obviously, we'll have a lot of reaction. I'll probably have a reaction video to the final 53-man roster, which is due Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I won't talk a whole lot about the game because obviously it doesn't mean as much as it does the overall roster construction and final decisions. But starting with the quarterback, Mason Rudolph locked in as your number 2. I know Tomlin didn't confirm that after the game. That's no surprise, but I fully expect Rudolph to be the guy. I think that's obvious to basically every Steelers fan at this point. I'm not breaking news with that statement, but just to kind of stamp that in tonight, I felt like ever since the Chiefs game in week 2 in the preseason that Rudolph started to take a step and started to create separation. You saw a little bit more of that against Tennessee last week, and then tonight I think ran away with the number 2 spot. The poise, the mobility within the pocket, the downfield accuracy, and just general ball placement that he shows. Again, doesn't have a huge arm. I'd say Josh Dobbs has a bigger arm when you talk quote-unquote arm talent, but Rudolph, I think, has better accuracy and placement, and I like that he was able to take some chances and rip it tonight. Something he didn't do a lot in camp because of coverage, dictates things and stuff like that, but when he had the opportunities in preseason, he took advantage of them, and I thought did a nice job overall, hooking up twice with Johnny Holton deep downfield. Duck Hodges got a terrible job by his offensive line, just got no help at all from receivers, but obviously didn't do anything to make a case to be the number 3. Will he be kept on the practice squad? It's probably not good at this point. I still wouldn't mind it because I think he's played well overall. I think there's some talent and potential there. Could Josh Dobbs get moved? Very unlikely. At best, you're going to get a conditional 7th round pick from him. Maybe Kansas City, or I know Indy's been mentioned a lot, but I think that's probably unlikely at this point. My expectation is Ben's obviously your starter, Rudolph your number 2, Dobbs your number 3, and flip a coin at best for Devlin Hodges sticking around on the practice squad. As a number 4, I would say that because his team has 11 practice squad spots, assuming that Christian Scotland-Williamson is kept there as part of the International Pathway Program, which he should be, would give you a better reason to keep a luxury like a 4th quarterback on your practice squad. But, we'll see what happens. Obviously not a great way to end things for Devlin Hodges tonight. Running back, Benny Snell, 8 carries, 12 yards again. No blocking, really didn't have any lanes. I know things were tough for him. I think he averaged, under 2 yards a carry this entire preseason. But I do want to caution that, the Steelers knew they were drafting a 225-pound back like Benny Snell. And so you can't expect him to look like and run like a 180-pound guy. Obviously, the burst isn't there. He's got to lose some weight, but you look at Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, Jalen Samuels this year, all good examples of guys that went year 1, year 2, dropping weight, getting some speed, and I think that's the path Benny Snell will take. So let's see what happens next year with him. Steelers knew they were getting a big back who probably didn't have the speed day 1 to turn the corner and win some of those one-on-one battles. But still, I think there's a nice job with his hands. Pass protection's better than most rookie running backs. I thought he embraced special teams. I like where he's at there. Could they keep 4 running backs and Trey Edmonds? Yes, I think it's possible. Maybe a little less unlikely because of what happened at linebacker tonight that really makes some tough decisions there. We'll get to that here briefly, but you guys already know what I'm talking about. Snell is going to be a very reserved back this year. Is going to cut his teeth on special teams, and again, going to lose, I think, 10-15 pounds here in the offseason. Tight end, hardly anything to note. I'm just happy that Christian Scotland-Williamson did play. Was targeted once. It was incomplete. Gentry had 1 or 2 catches. One target was an interception where he got out-muscled by the Carolina, I forget if it was a DB or linebacker. Certainly, if you're talking about one position that this team could add to, assuming that health doesn't change that dynamic, and I don't believe it will. This team's pretty healthy right now. Tight end is going to certainly be that spot where you could see someone from the outside coming in. I have a list on Steelers Depot of 7 names, from Luke Wilson, Derek Carrier out in Oakland, to Seth DeValve in Cleveland. I think makes a lot of sense. Jason Crew in Buffalo, Anthony Auclair as a trade candidate, Jordan Leggett in Tampa Bay. Steelers tried to claim him on waivers earlier this offseason before Tampa Bay stole him, so I could see them trying to circle back around to Leggett, assuming that he gets cut, and those odds seem good, according to everything that I've read from the Tampa Bay beat writers. But bottom line is, it wouldn't shock me either way if they kept Zach Gentry. They just figured there's not an upgrade worth cutting Zach Gentry. I mean, I get that, and I can live with that. That's fine. But certainly they could add somebody too, and I wouldn't bat an eye about it. But that's the one position group where you'd be, most expecting this team to add. Wide receivers, Johnny Holton making a big push. As a guy that was billed as a speed, long strider kind of guy that could get vertical. He had 2 vertical attempts against Tennessee. Couldn't get out inbounds on either of them, but certainly got inbounds tonight twice for, I think, a pair of 40-yard plays, a touchdown from Mason Rudolph, a double move on the first one, hit both sidelines. So good outing from him. Special teams value, a little bit of kick return value, although he won't be the kick returner, but can have that in his arsenal as a backup. Certainly could be pushing Eli Rogers for a roster spot. I think that's possible, more than possible right now, where you talk about, Rogers being the backup slot receiver again for the second straight week behind Switzer, whose spot feels safe, talking about Ryan Switzer, so Eli be that bubbly guy that, you want to talk about one guy that could get traded. Everyone talks about Josh Dobbs. I talk about Eli Rogers, probably more likely to get dealt to some, slot receiver needy team by Houston or Tampa Bay, someone like that, that could get you maybe a 7th round pick or maybe a player for player type deal if you want to try to bring in a tight end. Now with a trade scenario I suggested earlier this week where you trade Eli Rogers to Tampa Bay and get Auclair, but that's just my wild speculation. But Holton definitely making a good push late, and if not, he can be kept in the practice squad, and I certainly expect at worst Johnny Holton will be kept on the practice squad. The rest of the group, Deontay Spencer really didn't get to play, didn't get the return, which was a bummer. He's not going to make the team. He had to make a compelling play tonight. Obviously, he really didn't get a chance to do that. Didn't get a chance to do that. Played some receiver late, caught, I think, 2 passes, but not enough there. What's just going to be, I think, locked in. And Brandon Riley had a couple moments, a couple good plays on special teams, but not going to be enough for him. Trey Griffey had a nice special teams tackle, but again, probably not enough for him. He might get a practice squad spot. We'll see, him or Tevin Jones. I still lean Tevin Jones, but those are decisions that you guys probably don't care a whole lot about right now. Offensive line, to go to them bad, just straight out with it. They were pretty poor tonight across the board. A lot of young guys. You don't have a lot of practice time. You probably had 1 practice this week, a short week going on the road, Wednesday being a travel day. So you go 1 practice, a walkthrough on Wednesday probably, maybe Thursday morning, and that was it. So they played like guys that hadn't practiced or barely practiced. When you have Derwin Gray and Gerald Hawkins, who's a little bit more of a veteran but hasn't had a lot of experience and injuries and all that. Damian Prince and Garrett Brumfield, though I didn't think those guys were terrible, but certainly some issues with Zach Banner and a lot of holding calls, unfortunately. 3 straight holding calls was as bad as it gets with Hawkins, Gray, and Banner getting flagged for it. But I think the offensive line is pretty much the same. Certainly no major changes. Fred Johnson is going to be on or off. I'm leaning back towards him being on. I think it's a little bit up in the air. History says this team will keep 9 linemen. If they do, Fred Johnson will be number 9, Banner 8, Finney, a core 4 backups, and you guys know the starting 5. Villanueva, Foster, Bounty DeCastro, and Matt Filer. Defensive line, Isaiah Buggs. Nice game for him. Struggled a bit against Tennessee. That was his worst game. So I was happy that Buggs played well this week to kind of finish things out. Some lower competition, but good end for him. Defensive line is pretty much the same. Henry Mondo made a little bit more noise. I think he's ticketed for the practice squad. I've thought that for a while now. Nothing's changing now, especially following the Lavon Hooks injury. Linebackers, that's the big one. That's the one everyone's going to be talking about until this team makes its final cutdowns, and probably even after they make those decisions, because there are some tough decisions to be made at linebacker this year. UG3 blocking that field goal. It feels like Rosie Nix in 2015 blocking that punt against Carolina that cemented his roster spot. I think Gilbert's going to make it. He's shown enough on defense and special teams to help you out there. Certainly special teams is where he could start. I think he has the traits to play on defense 2-3 years from now, but I've been impressed with him overall from the start of camp and finishing things out. He's a guy that seemed to finish it well. Tomlin talks about guys that were straining towards the end. I think UG3 is one of those guys, so I think he's going to make it. What happens with Tuzar Skipper? This is a guy with 5 sacks this preseason, according to my research. The most sacks by any Steelers defender since at least 2006. That's as far back as the stats get tracked, the preseason stats. But what is the path? Does he deserve a roster spot? Sure, he's played well enough. And then the big thing for him, and that was the thing that Dave and I talked about, was the lack of special teams playing time. Didn't know why he wasn't getting it, but he got it against the Panthers, and he made 2 tackles on the kick team, which was huge for him. So he showed some of that. He's done it before in college. Did it. Toledo actually got hurt in Toledo towards ACL in 2017, went out on a kick in week 3 against Tulsa. So I was happy he did that, and I think he's kind of answered every challenge his team has thrown at him. So, what do you do with him? Do you keep 10 linebackers? It's pretty rare that they've done that, but obviously it's pretty rare to have this kind of just gluttony of talent. So Skipper, Chick's not going to get cut. You would have to, keep 8 offensive linemen, You could try 3 safeties if Davis is going to be healthy and good to go, though I think his health creates a bit of certainly uncertainty from us, an outsider point of view. It would take some doing to try to get to 10. It is possible, but Skipper certainly played well, so some tough decisions there. That's going to be the one I wrestle with the most: is can you make it work, and can you make it fit? You'd have to do some trimming around the edges at other positions, but he certainly earned it. I mean, I'm not going to argue that one bit. I've talked highly about Tuzar Skipper this entire time, and he deserves a spot. Will he get it? It's a numbers game, unfortunately, but I know people will be upset if he does not get it. Inside linebacker, again, Gilbert getting the spot. What else? Jaywan Elliott at outside linebacker to jump back there. Had a fumble recovery, 91 yards the other way. Nice play for him. He's not going to make the team, but nice way to make an impact play, getting signed a week ago. Sutton Smith, a little bit better early on. That was about it. Christian Kuntz made some nice plays. Long snap, too. So that's a nice calling card for him. And that was about it. Robert Spillane, I think, got hurt in the game. Hopefully he's going to be okay, because he certainly deserves a practice squad spot. I think he's played well, really attacks running backs well, kind of translate those backs on backers drills. So hopefully he's going to be healthy enough to be on the practice squad. Cornerback Justin Lane struggled. Definitely looks like the raw rookie he was built to be out of Michigan State. And you're seeing some of the things that made me uneasy about the pick, some concerns I had with him. And I'm not going to freak out. It's a rookie. He's raw. Should be a senior in Michigan State right now, but some of the stiffness, some of the lack of long speed, those were the 2 primary concerns I had with Justin Lane, and those were evident on Thursday night. Got hurt in the game. Don't know what the severity is. Mike Tomlin did not mention him after the game, but didn't really address the injury report concretely. Could that be a way to open up a roster spot if you IR him? Talk about IRing Ola Daney potentially to open up a spot for Skipper. Those things are possible, but we just don't know the injury situation well enough to really comment on that well enough. But Lane certainly a redshirt year at best for him, and he may miss some time with the injury. We'll have to find out on Saturday. Again, remember, if the team IR somebody like a Daney or Justin Lane, they have to make the 53 initially first, so that would still potentially require cutting someone like Tuzar Skipper, or they could try to cut a veteran and do a turnaround with them. They did that with Nat Burhay last year, I believe. I'll have to go back and check. So just be aware of that. If you want to IR to return those guys, they have to make the 53 first. You can't IR them tomorrow on Friday and then be able to bring them back. So just to have some clarification there. Rest of the corners, pretty quiet. Dean looked like a guy that got there 24 hours ago. That was about it. Nothing really doing there. At safety, Marcus Allen did work over Jordan Dangerfield, got the start opposite Cam Kelly. One other thing with inside linebacker. Why did the Steelers play Devin Bush so much? More than a quarter? That was more than a quarter. Too rich for my blood, but he got out healthy, so that was good for that. I know he's a rookie. You want to get him snaps, experience, blah, 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 but just made me uneasy. Safety, Allen started, didn't play particularly well. Him and Dangerfield are in a real tight battle right now. For me, this might spoil my 53 a little bit, but I think you're either going to keep one of Edmonds or Dangerfield, and then to be your up back to be the PP on the punt team. But I think that battle's still up in the air, so you got to keep at least one of those guys, I believe. If you're not keeping Edmonds, then you probably keep Dangerfield over Marcus Allen. Kicking game, Matthew Wright missed a couple of field goals. Boss didn't even play. Kennedy didn't even long snap. He's going to make the team. Berryman did have some good directional punting, but I don't know if it's enough. Might be too little too late for him. I still think they're going to roll with Jordan Berry. And that's about the group. There might be a train coming in a moment. I'm not too sure, so I want to wrap this video up. I don't want to go too long anyway. I'll have my roster prediction out either Friday morning, probably more Saturday morning. The Steelers are generally slow with their cut, so I feel comfortable just kind of waiting till Saturday. But yeah, we'll have the roster cut down, predictions, reactions, coverage for all that on Steelers Depot, and then get ready, jumping in New England. Week 1 in Foxborough, September 8th, coming up here really quickly. So we're going to be back in our regular season mode. Let me know your 53-man roster. Would you keep Tuzar Skipper? I'm betting that you would. If you do, who are you cutting? And don't say Anthony Chickalo, because I just don't think that's going to happen. Don't say Tyler Medikevich, because I just don't think that's going to happen. But if you do, go for it. I understand the reasons for that. But let me know your 53-man roster and how you would construct things, whether you're listening on YouTube, following me on Twitter, at Alex_Kazor, or the site, SteelersDepot.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.